everyone and welcome to this video. So this video is part 3 of our platformer series in game development with Pygame. So in this video we are going to be adding some animation and some nice graphics to our player, and we'll also be adding a saving high score, okay, which we will do using a file system. So let's start. Okay, so here I am in my project. So last time we did this. So we had this. We had a start screen and we also have a score. And then when we fell off, it was game over. And if we press the key again, let me just show you. Whoops. Let's just go up a bit. So if we do that, it's game over. Okay, so let me just run it again to show you the start screen. There it is. So that's the start screen. So as I told you, in this video we are going to be adding animation, and we're going to be working with Sprite sheets to add graphics and everything. So as you can see here, I have Sprite sheet jumper and Sprite sheet jumper.xml. And I had these in a img file that I created. So this is basically called a Kenny. This Sprite sheet is by Kenny. He does very nice game assets. If you want to use them, they're very good for your use. They're completely free and you're allowed to use them in your games. So they are very good if you want to use them. You can get them from his website, which is basically you just need to type in Kenny and it'll take you to the website. I typed in Kenny jumper pack to get the specific jumper pack, so that was this one over here. Okay, and here's the preview. It looks pretty cool. So yeah, that's what it is. So yeah, we're going to be adding some graphics to our game using this sprite sheet, and we're going to be creating a separate method for that sprite sheet as well. So I'm just going to collapse everything here. So in our settings, what we want to do is so let me just take that away. I gave you a little sneaky peek of what we're going to do today, but don't worry about that. So what we need to do is we need to put in the name of our sprite sheet. Well, that's at least what I'm going to do. I just did it to make it a bit easier. So sprite sheet is equal to sprite sheet jumper.png. Make sure you don't use the XML file, because the XML file is for reference. It's not for using as images. And then after that, we need to create something called a directory. Now, directory are small folders inside your system. So if you go into your file system, this desktop, documents, pictures and downloads, those and videos, those are directories. Okay, even 3D objects could be a directory. So those are directories, and we're going to be creating a main directory, which is going to be our Pygame platformer directory. We're going to be navigating to the img directory over here, and then in our main.py we'll be taking that sprite sheet image out of the directory. Now, as you saw sneaky peek, it said from OS import path. So path is a package in OS where you can make directories and loads of things you can do. So the reason it's called path is because path is basically a directory. We can make generate paths and directories using OS. So here I'm going to write down file directories, and first we need to create our main directory, which is going to be this Pygame platform directory, which will access all our other files through. So what I'm going to do is I am going to say main directory is equal to path.dir_name, and we need to pass in directory name. So this is going to be called file. Now why do I write file in here? So that means the directory that our file is in. So this is a settings.py file, and it is in the Pygame platform directory. So now we're going to create that as our main directory. So as we are working with images today, we are going to be using sprite sheet jumper.png as our image. We need to create an image directory, which is going to be this image file over here. So we're going to say image dir is equal to path.join. So now we are going to join our main directory to our image directory to create the whole image directory itself. So we're going to say path.join. We're going to join main dir to the word img, because my folder over here is called img, so I'm going to join it to that folder. And then in our main.py, I am going to create a method called load data. But before that, I'm going to say self dot load data, and there we go. So we need to create that method, obviously. So I'm going to say def load data, but for now I'm going to put in pass, because we will be making a separate class to load our data, or maybe just to load our sprite sheet actually, not our data. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a class called sprite sheet. Okay, so this class, so let me just write it, sprite, oh my goodness, sprite sheet. So we are going to be creating that class. Now this, we are not inheriting from anything. We're not inheriting from pg.sprite.sprite, which is just a normal class that we have created. So we are going to be what does our class sprite sheet do? So basically, creating this class sprite sheet, because we are going to be using it as a utility class for grabbing images out of a larger sprite sheet. Okay, so it's not only for grabbing images actually, it's for loading and parsing. So so basically parsing means to parsing means to like process those images from the sprite sheet. So first of all, we need to create a init method. So all we need here is we need the file name. So this is going to be the sprite sheet itself to take the images out of. So what I'm going to do is I am going to say self.sprite sheet is equal to pg.image.load. I am going to so what I'm going to load is I want to load file name, which is basically the sprite sheet, and then I need to convert it so it comes out still transparent. So when we convert it, it will be transparent. And now we need to create the main method, and we're going to call this getImage. So basically this one will grab an image from a larger sprite sheet. So we need to say x, y, width, and height. So you might be thinking, why on earth do I need these? Well, this is where the sprite sheet jumper.xml comes in handy. So Kenny adds these into his he adds it to his sprite sheets all the time, so you can reference to them and find out where all the images are located. So this X over here is the X coordinate of the image. The Y is the Y coordinate. The width is the width. Oh my. There you go. So the width is the width of the image, and the height is the height of the image. So that is why we passed in these, so we can actually get the individual image. So again, what does this do? It will grab an image from a larger sprite sheet. Okay? So we need to say image is equal to pg.surface. Okay? So the reason we are putting this as a surface is so we can so that surface will contain the image. Okay, so we're going to call it the image, but actually it will be containing the image. So this surface will be width, height. So that will be the width and height of the image now. So it'll get the exact measurements. And then we want to do this. So image dot split. So we want to actually split the sprite sheet. So self.sprite sheet. So we want to split that. We want to split at 0, 0. So that's the destination. We want to split it. And then the area we want to split it. So that is X, Y, width, height. So actually, it's not blitting anything onto the screen. What it's actually doing is it's actually just processing the image from the sprite sheet using X, Y, width, and height. And then, even though these images are quite small and they're the perfect size for our game, when we take them out of the sprite sheet, that image will resize itself to be the size of the sprite sheet. And we don't want that, otherwise it'll be like some sort of giant battle. So we need to scale the image. Luckily, Pygame has a whole set of transform tools you can use for your images in your games. So those are pretty helpful. So all we need to do is we need to say image is equal to, so we're reassigning the image, we're not creating another image, is equal to pg.transform. So we're going to use transform tools. And we're going to use the scale tool. So we're going to say image, so we want to scale the image obviously. So the width we want to scale it to is going to be width over 2. And then the height we want to scale it to is height over 2. Now there is actually something very wrong with scaling it like this. So if you thought about pixels ever, you cannot have half of a pixel, can you? You can't have a quarter, you can't have a half. So this will actually return a decimal value if there is a decimal value. And there probably will be. So just in case, we're going to do floor division. Now this will round it and then scale it to the height. If it's like 1 pixel shorter and 1 pixel bigger, it's fine because you won't really notice these little pixels over here. If I just show you, you will not notice these little pixels ever. Like let's say this pixel went missing, you would not notice it, okay? Unless all the pixels went missing, then that's a bit bad, but you won't notice it for the time being. So yeah, that's pretty good now. And then right after that, what we want to do is we want to do this. So we want to do we want to return the image. So now it will have blitted the image. Okay. So in our main.py, we need to load the sprite sheet. So I'm going to say load sprite sheet. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to say self.sprite sheet is equal to, so the sprite sheet class object, or whatever you want to call it. So what is the file name? Path.join we're going to join the image directory to the sprite sheet name. Okay, so we created those in our settings over here, and now the sprite sheet should have loaded. So what we want to do now is we want to replace the player rectangle, this boring player rectangle right here. We want to replace it with the image. Okay, and we're also going to replace the platform graphics too. So first we're going to do the player. So we don't need to fill the player image. We don't need to do any of that. So what we're going to do is we are going to say self.game sprite sheet get image. So now we can use the XML file to copy and paste. So the image I'm going to be using right now is this image over here, this very nice cute bunny image. So that one appears to be called bunny one ready. So I'm going to be copying that and I'm going to paste it right there. So we just need to tweak it a bit. It won't actually take too long. It takes a really short time. It takes about like 10 seconds. So now let's check out the image. Okay, so now there is something very wrong with our image right here. So as you can see, we've got this black rectangle. So this is basically the Pygame surface that we created in our sprite sheet class, and we don't want that to appear actually. So what we need to do is we need to make that black background go away. So we can do this using Pygame's set color key method by saying self.image. So you can set the color key to anything. So self.image.set color key. So what color do you want to be set transparent? So I want to only set the black one, black color. You can set any color you like. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And now it looks quite nice. But now there is one more thing we need to do. We need to replace the platform graphics. Okay, so we need to do that. So let's do that actually. It's not going to be too hard. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to import random. So from random import choice. So the reason we are using the choice package from random is because we have this big grassy background, platform, and a small one, and we want to give it a random sense of stuff. So we are going to be saying what we're going to do is we're going to say we want it to be random, so we're going to give it a choice of things. So we want to be passing in the copy of the game because we have to reference the game sprite sheet. So we need to say self.game is equal to game. And then we need to take away this image filling thing. And we're going to do this. So we're going to say self.images. So these are the images it can choose from for the platform. So the big grassy platform appears to be called ground grass. Just plain ground grass. It's not broken or anything, it's just ground grass. So that's the first one. So we need to say self.game.spritesheet.getImage. So we'll just put this around and tweak this so it does not give us any sort of error. So let's just do that very quickly. There we go. So I'm just going to duplicate this line. There we go. And I'm going to tweak the X, Y, width, and height. So that one appears to be called ground grass small. So we'll copy that and paste it right here. There we go. And we can tweak this now. Nearly done. There we go. So now we don't want the image to be a surface. What we want to do is we want to say so self.image is equal to a choice of a random choice of one of these images. So we're going to say choice of self.images. Okay. And now we can take away this width and height now, because we don't need the width and height for the platforms. We don't need to add that in. So we need to tweak quite a lot of things here. So we need to take away the last two parameters that we added over here in our platform list. We need to take away those parameters. So let's take them away. And then once we have done that, in our main.py, let's just collapse that. And also, yeah, we did it there. And then in our new, we want to put in self, because remember we will not pass in the copy of the game over there. And then in our update, where we spawn a new platform over here, we need to take away this. Okay, and now let's check out the things. Okay, so that is giving us an error now. Platform object has no attribute. Okay, that is because we have to put that there. Okay, that has given us another error. I expect it has, so where is that? Okay, that is because we need to put self, and then yeah, that should be fine. And then one more thing, I'm just going to check. We forgot to set the color key, so we need to say self.image.set color key black. And there you go. There we go. So our platforms look pretty good now. Okay. So yeah, those platforms look good now. But now our player looks a bit less lifelike. It doesn't look too good, so we're going to be adding some animation to it too. And we also might be adding a high score after that. So let's add the animation. Now, there are some ways we are going to actually add the animation. So I was thinking of using a for loop to do this. So what we were going to do is we were going to, let me just demonstrate to you using something like paint or something like that. So let me just find it. There we go. There we go. I've just got Paint 3D up quickly. So let's say, so what I was thinking is we could create some sort of, we could, let's just undo that. What we're going to do is we are going to be creating a list that had our animation in it. So I'll just write animation here. So we created a list. We're going to create a list that has our animation images in it. We're going to also create a variable that has that generates an index for our list. So we will be using indexing and looping through those indexes and images using a for loop. So you'll understand when we start. So what we need to do is we need to create quite a lot of variables here. So first thing we need to do is we need to say after we make our game, after we give it a copy of the game, we're going to say self.walking, so we know when it's walking, is equal to false for now. We're going to say self.jumping. We're not going to actually be using this, but let's create it anyway because we'll be using it quite soon. And then we're going to create a self.current frame. So this is the index that we'll be generating, so 0. And then we're going to say self.last update. So this will be like this will be a variable where you can keep track of time, and we can work out when to do the next frame or not. So we're going to set that to 0 now. So now once we have done that, we are going to say self.load images. Okay, so basically this is self.load images is a method we're going to create in our player class where we will be learning where we'll be loading our images. Okay, so let's collapse that and create our load images. Okay, so I'm going to say def load images. So we are going to pass in self. We don't need anything else right now. We just need to put nothing, so just self. So the first thing we want to do is we need to pass in the idle frames. Now this is just 2 simple frames, so we're just going to call this self.idle frames right now. So self.idle frames is equal to its list. So the images I'm going to be using for idle is one of the images our players already. So this image and this image. So it'll look like it's kind of bobbing up and down merrily. So yeah, we're going to be adding those images. So those images, if we just go to bunny section over here, is bunny1 ready. So we don't actually need to do that. We can just copy it from here because our players already got that image. So we'll just collapse that. So actually, what am I doing? So our player has already got that image right here. So we can copy that and then we can paste it here. So we'll just say, actually, why did I do that? Why did I only copy that? I had to copy the whole thing actually. So we'll do that. And then after we have done that, we will do it again. So there we go. So we've got bunny1 ready already, and then we need bunny1 stand. So that is basically the bit where it gets a bit taller over here. So what we need to do is we need to copy it here. Let's do that. There we go. Okay, so that's our idle frames. And then we need to set each of these frames. We need to set a color key for each of these frames. So we need to say for frame in self.standing. For frame in self.not standing idle frames. So for every frame in that set of frames, we're going to say frame.set color key black. Okay, so make sure that surface doesn't appear. And then we need our walking animations, and actually that is very similar to the idle. Well, not very similar. It's actually quite different, just the same kind of framework over here. So there we go. We'll just indent that properly. So we're going to be calling these walk frames right. So walk frames are actually. So those walk frames are that, and so the walk frames of this image and this image, just cycling. Yeah, it's just those 2 images. And yeah, that will be our walk frames. So they're very simple, but they look kind of cute. So here we want to put in self.walk frames are. There we go. So not walk frame, walk frames, and that should be good. Then we need to load different images. So that is bunny1 walk 1 first. So we'll put that here. And then we've got bunny1 walk 2. which is this one, and we'll put that one over here. Okay, so let's just correct these very quickly. So about 20 seconds now, because we're doing both of these. So I'm just going to do this. There we go. So we've got our walk frames right, and now we'll just put this to walking. So now as you can see here in our sprite sheet jumper, there is no frames for walking left, but not to fear, we can use the Pygame transform tools again, and you should probably guess which tool we're going to use. Have you guessed it? Well, we're going to be using a flip tool in Pygame. So we're just going to copy that and paste it here. So self.walkFramesL, and we need to set self.walkFramesLeft or L to an empty list. So we're going to append a flipped image. So each of these flipped images to walk frames L to create our walk frames. So I'm going to say for frame in walk frame in self dot walk frames right. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say self dot walk frames L dot append. We are going to append pg dot transform dot flip. So we're going to append the flipped version of each of the images. So we're going to append the frame. We only want to flip it horizontally, so that will be true, and we don't want to flip it vertically, so that is actually false, not true. So now we have a flipped image. We have all of our frames. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to start animating. So in our update section, I'm going to say self dot animate. Okay, so we're going to be creating that method. We're not going to be putting it in our update, otherwise that would be rather messy. And actually I just noticed that the update section is before the jump. We're going to put it after. There you go. So after the update, now we're going to say def animate. We do not need to pass in anything in our animate section over here. So what we need to do is we are going to say now is equal to pg.time.getTicks. So we can link this now to our last update in our init section here to calculate how much time is to calculate when we need to cycle to our next frame. Okay, but you'll see this later. So first you need to know if the player is walking or not. So you need to say if self.val.x is not equal to 0. So that basically means it's walking, right? We're going to say self.walking is equal to true. And then we're going to say else self.walking is equal to false. So yeah, that is how we calculate if it's walking or not. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to show the idle animation. So what I need to do here is I need to say if not self dot walking. So if we're not walking, so if not self dot walking, what we need to do is we're going to say another condition, if now minus self dot last update is greater than 350. So that now means, so if it has been 350 milliseconds since the last update, then we're going to set self dot last update is equal to now. So now we now it will count back up again, and then it'll keep on repeating this now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create our index so we can cycle through our list. So how do we do this? What we need to do is we need to say self dot current frame. So this is the index, remember, is equal to self dot current frame plus 1 mod the length of self dot idle frames. So basically it'll add one and it will mod it, which basically means dividing and then finding the remainder of and it will find the remainder of the length of self dot idle frame. So that will actually create the indexes 0 and 1. So it can now cycle through the list using those indexes. So then we're going to say self.image is equal to self.standing frames. And then we can index to, we can use the current frame, which is basically the index, to index to that image. So it's actually self.current frame. Yeah, there you go. So we're going to index to that image. So let's see. So that is going to give us an error. So it says, okay, so, oh no, I keep on writing standing frames. There we go. So now you can see our player is moving. So you can see that the legs are actually sort of like sinking on the ground. Like they're kind of underground. So the first thing I'm going to do is in our main.py, so we're right here. So where we do this, we are going to say we're going to take away the +1, and that won't actually fix the error though. So oh no, so it looks like our player is looking down and up. It looks kind of weird. So we need to fix that issue in the animation section. So what we need to do is we need to say, I'm going to say bottom is equal to self.rect.bottom. So this is the bottom of the image. And then I'm going to say self.rect is equal to self.image.getRect. And then we're going to say self.rect.bottom is equal to bottom. So now that will ensure that our player doesn't like sink on the ground. So let's look. There we go. So now our player is working. But actually maybe I should have kept the +1. That should be fine now. There you go. So now our player is perfect. So it is doing the animation, but again, it's now gliding on. It's like stopping when we're moving, because remember it won't play the animation unless it won't play the animation when we're walking. So we need to create a walking animation. Okay. So what we need to do is, it's actually very similar to show it the idle animation. What we need to do is we need to, okay, how did that end up right there? What we need to do is, instead of saying show idle animation, it is show walk animation. So we need to say if self.walking And then if now minus last update is actually smaller than 180, so I want this to be slower. I want this to be quicker than the idle animation. So then we set last update is equal to now. And then after we create the bottom variable, we're going to say if self.val.x is greater than 0, that must mean that it is going right. So we want to execute the self.walk frames. We want to execute the right walk frames. So we're going to say self.image is equal to self.walk frames right. And remember, we want to index to self.current frame. And also what we want to do here is we're just going to put the length of either walk frames right or walk frames left. I'm just going to put self.walk frames left because they both have the same number of both have the same number of elements. And then what we're going to say else, we can copy this over here. So else we're going to copy that. We only want to execute walk frames L though. So let's check it out now. So now you can see it is moving right and left. Looks pretty nice animation. So yeah, I like the animation right now. It looks pretty good. So you might want to be adding a jump animation. I'm going to leave that to you for a little challenge because yeah, I just want it to be a challenge for you guys. So now, let's just see if we have enough time. Yeah, we do. So now, because we have time, we are going to be creating a high score. So this is the high score that saves. It actually saves. So basically, what it does is we're going to be creating a separate file. So our high score will be saving. So if we close the window and open it again, it will still have saved. Now that is actually too much to handle in any of these scripts. It will make the game all laggy. So what we want to do is we want to handle it in a separate file. So in our settings.py over here, what we're going to do is we are going to say hs file. So this will be the name of our high score file. I'm going to call this high score file highscore.txt. So we're going to be creating a txt file for our high score. And we'll be using os.path to import it, okay? So, yeah. Now, as you've seen, we haven't actually imported os.path because it's already imported in settings. But right now, I'm just going to import it here just so we can see. So, over here, I'm going to say from os import path. There we go. Now that we have done that, we can now in our load data we can create the high score file. So here what I'm going to do is in our load data, what I'm going to do is I'm going to load high score. Okay, and let's just put capital R there to keep it complete. So I'm going to say, so since we've created our main directory already, we need to do one thing. So we need to create the file itself. So we're going to say width open. So that means when we have opened the game, we're going to say path.join self.dir hs file. Now because that file is not there yet, if the file is not there yet, it's going to create it itself. And we want to create it as a write-only file or a read-only file. Now, basically, we are going to create as a read-only file. Even though we'll be changing it, in this load data part, we are going to be actually reading it only. So we're going to read it and we're going to store it as f. So basically, if when we're reading it and it's the first time we've run this game, okay, and what we have done is we have gone ahead, it has gone ahead and created the high score file, and it goes to read it, okay. But if there's no contents in there, then it will give us an error, because this is the code I was going to write. So I'm going to say self dot high score is equal to int f dot read. So it will read it now. So if we try to convert nothing into an integer, that's going to give us an error. So that is why we should not do that, okay? So we can prevent this from happening by using try and except. So it won't give us an error and stop the whole game. So we're going to say try. So we are going to try to read it, and we are going to say except. So if any error comes, so that basically means if, so the error that will come is nothing to read or something like that. I'm not sure what error it is, but it will give us some sort of error saying you can't read the, you can't convert nothingness into int or something. So it'll say that. So if that's the case, we're going to set self dot high score is equal to 0. So if that's only the case, if there's nothing there, we're just going to set it to 0. So if we wrote W, what it would do is every time it keep on resetting the high score, and there's no point of doing that. There's literally no point of creating a high score file if we just set it to write and it keeps on writing it all the time as 0. So we're just gonna set it to read and only write it in if it's empty. So now we need to know when to display our high score and everything. So we can do that in our show start screen and show game over screen. Okay, so it's not too hard, it's pretty simple. So in our show start screen, what I'm going to do is at the top, so right above our title, I'm going to say self dot draw text. So I'm going to be drawing the text high score. Okay, so high score, that's the text I want to draw, and I'm going to concatenate that with the string value of self dot high score. I'm going to put it at size 22, color white. I'm going to put it in the middle for the x-axis, and right and 15 for the y, so it will be at the top of the screen. So let's see what it looks like. Okay, so that has given us an error now. Okay, so not self.dir, it is the main directory. Okay, it's given us another error. No such file or directory. Where is this? High score, it says there's no directory at all. So what did we do wrong at all? So I'm just gonna check what we did wrong. Okay, so we did pass.join. So we joined the main directory with hs file. Okay, so let's just check. We created at highscore.txt. So hang on a minute, guys. I'm just gonna check this out. Okay, so I know why it didn't work. So I had to create the highscore.txt myself. I apologize, but it's fine because it only takes like, I don't know, 1 second to create it. So yeah, I just created it and it seemed to work. So it displayed the high score, and yeah, that's what it did. But now, if we run again, we cannot really reassign it because we need to reassign the score to the high score because that's what high scores are for. So we'll do that in the show game over screen because we need to show them if they have a new high score or not in the show game over screen. Okay, so remember we need to do that before the pg.flip. So I'm going to say if self.score is greater than self.highscore, so that basically means that we need to set a new high score. Then I'm going to say self.highscore is equal to score, or self.score actually. And then I need to say self.draw text because I want to inform them that they have a new high score. I'm going to say new high score in all caps, and I have not spelled anything correctly. New high score in all caps. Well, I'm going to do it in all caps, but you do not have to do that. So new high score, I'm going to put it size 30, color white, width over 2, so in the middle for the x-axis, and then I'm going to do height over 2 plus 40, and I'm just going to correct the width. There we go. So that should appear between press a key to play again, and it should appear under score. And then we want to say else. So if user does not beat the high score, sadly, then we're going to say I don't need to say else again, sorry. We are going to say self.draw text. I'm just going to give them their high score they had previously. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give them the high score they had previously. Okay, I'm going to concatenate that with the string of self.highscore, and again I'm going to put it size 30, color white, width over 2 along the x-axis, and then again I'm going to do a height over 2 plus 40, and then that should do the trick. Let's check it out. So we'll just go a bit high very quickly. There should be an adequate high score. Oh, this keeps on teleporting me. See? No. There we go, let's just jump off. There we go. So now it gives us a new high score, and if we run it again now, it's unfortunately it is not saving. So so we said self.highscore is equal to self.score. So did we do it? Maybe. Okay, so maybe we should actually no, we shouldn't take that away. So we reassigned that, right? So I'm just going to correct this again. Okay, so this was a very silly error, okay? So what we need to do is we need to actually write the high score in. We don't just draw the high score onto the screen, otherwise it's not going to save. So we need to write the high score in. So again, so with open path.join, we're going to join the main directory with the HS file so we can open it. And this time we're going to do it in write mode so we can write inside it. We're going to open it as F. And then we're going to say f.write. We're going to write the string value of self.score. Okay, so let's check it out now. So I'm just going to go off like that. New high score. Let's run it again. Okay, so now it's saved our high score and saying high score is equal to 15. So yes, now our high score is working. Now one last thing I have wanted to fix for ages, right now. Sorry, I just mixed up my words there. Basically, here we had to add it manually. We had to add the player manually too. So I don't want to do that anymore. So I am going to stop that from happening. So let's take away all of these all sprites.add bits. Okay, going to take it all away. So I believe we did it in our update too. Yes, we did. So we take away all of that now. And in our sprites, even before we initialize our sprite, we're going to create self.groups variable. Okay, so this is this over here is going to be we are just going to reference the groups we want to add it to, and then we're going to add it to that group. So the only group I want here is game.allSprites, and then here I want to initialize the self.groups, initialize and add it to self.groups as well. And then we have to do the same in platforms. So in this case now, my self.groups is equal to game.allSprites and game.platforms. So those are my groups. And then here I need to say, I need to initialize self.groups and add it as well. And that should do the trick. It shouldn't give us an error. Yeah, there we go. So it doesn't give us a error anymore. So in the next video, well, this is the end of this video actually. So in the next video, what we're going to do is we are going to be we're actually going to be adding some improved jumping over here. We're going to be adding some improved jumping, and we're going to be adding sounds and music, and we'll add a few more sprites such as power-ups and enemies in the next few videos. So yeah, so thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. If you have any comments or doubts, please comment them in the comment section below. I'll be happy to answer them. And yeah, I hope you like this video. So I guess that's the end. Bye.